What's up, everyone? All right, today I am introducing you to Operation DMG. So I used to mod Nintendo Game Boys, the original ones, not these ones. The advanced mod is not something I ever got used to doing cleanly, let's say. And also with SPs, I'm talking about the original OG Game Boys. And the reason I like modding these is because there were so many of them. It is absolutely absurd. Like, if you look up number of Nintendo Game Boys created, and that's, you know, we're just going to trust Wikipedia for the sake of this, right? Okay, so I think it's going to give us numbers that include everything. Where are the numbers? Come on. Receptions. Sold? Maybe? Okay, here we go. The Game Boy and the Game Boy Color have sold over 118 million units, okay? To understand that number, the PlayStation 2 is the most successful quantity-wise console of all time, as far as I know. Maybe that's no longer true. I don't know much about consoles within the past, 3 years. But in general, that's my understanding. The PlayStation 2 is, when it comes to the gaming console that reached the most quantity of people, it was the PlayStation 2. So if you could look at that, PlayStation 2 manufactured, how many were made? I should have just, yeah, okay, sold. Here we go. Oh, units sold is right there, okay. Okay, yeah, the PlayStation 2 has sold over 150 million units. So the Nintendo Game Boys, up to the Colors, sold 118 million units, which is crazy if you think about it. Like, that is crazy. They're all over the place, and there's tons of them, and that's just, it makes them really easy to find, right? And the thing that's cool is they're old, and like old, like they've gone through stuff. They may have smoking damage, they may have been yellowed from time, they're inside, they're corroded. The biggest thing that causes these Game Boys to screw up is the batteries. They get, people leave batteries in, and you should never leave a battery in a device, because over the years, you know, the battery's going to drain out, you know, but it's going to cause corrosion. And corrosion is like the disease of electronics. Once one part is corroded, then that corrosion just spreads into the motherboard and into the other components, and it just destroys it. And it's really fascinating, because if you look at it, it looks like something that's alive and grew, because that's how it behaves. It's awesome. Sorry, I love this stuff, and I'm really excited to get back into the States and get this going again, because now I have I can make videos about making the modifications for these, right? Because my favorite mod to do with this is a backlight mod, because I feel like it doesn't get rid of too much of the original retro experience of a Nintendo Game Boy, but it does allow you to actually play it much easily. Because if you're used to backlighting and you try and play one of these, it is reasonably frustrating, and you have to get the right angle, right? There's definitely certain parts of the room that you can't play because you can't see properly, you know. So having a backlight just makes it more modern, but it's great, and it's fun to do the mod. And I used to do tons of them in the States. I would just get big piles of Game Boys off eBay, and then it was how I spent money, because I loved it. It was fun. And then I would just mod them and resell them and learn. And I never earned that much money doing it, but I did do it a lot. And I got the systems down, and I learned about the different kinds of damage. And I understand now that I can do videos about that on a regular basis, because it's something I love. And I got to figure out, okay, as I'm growing up and as I'm developing, how do I integrate the things that I'm really passionate about, that make me who I am, into my YouTube channel? Because ultimately that YouTube is it's the most fascinating opportunity that I have ever come across, because most opportunities are so specific to the kinds of people that they can cater to, but YouTube is all about, okay, if you want to know what I think the most important thing with having a YouTube channel is, it's about this concept. And that concept is, you don't make a YouTube channel to then figure out what to make videos about. The best way to do it is to figure out something that's already happening in your life and record it. Because it's not about making the perfect video. It's about making so many videos that you just understand it inside and out. You know exactly what you enjoy. You know exactly what your audience likes. You know exactly what they're going to give you crap about, but is best in the long run. You know all of that as long as you continue to create content. That part is so, so, so important. Being a YouTuber is about integrating recording into your life, into the parts of it that make it you. You know, you can use YouTube to not accomplish, to monetize things and not take it that way. But for me, that's what being a YouTuber is. Whereas, like, maybe a YouTube personality is something that's, I don't know, like for more I don't know, but you know, I shouldn't limit it like that. If people use YouTube in so many different ways, and it's so fascinating because you can use it, you know, you have passion about something. Whether you realize it or not, you do. You just haven't. You've either tapped into it or you haven't. And if you haven't tapped into it, well, the best way is to go look into your childhood. This sounds corny, I know. But look into your childhood. Remember the things that you experienced as a child. And to do everything that you can to revisit the movies you watched, the cartoons, the toys you played with. Everything that you can remember. Whether it's, you know, something completely different, like a particular sport or a particular place or a particular food. Re-experience this. That is how you find yourself when you are lost. And I know that because that is how all of this started. That is how the YouTube channel started. That is how eBay started. That is how dropshipping, all of it started because I felt lost and I didn't know what made me happy. So what I did is looked into my childhood and I started revisiting the things that I had done as a child that I had never done again. Like, I rewatched some Pokemon VHS tapes that I bought at a yard sale because I had memories of that. I rewatched animes that I didn't have any active interest in watching, but I did like at one point to, like, piece my head back together. And in that pursuit, after doing that for a while, I don't remember how long it was, but I remembered playing video games, in particular, games for the Nintendo 64. There was a game, Jet Force Gemini, that I loved as a kid, but at the end you have to like go through and revisit all of the planets, and there are these like teddy bear people that you have to go rescue, and you have to rescue every single one of them. And I'm not really a completionist kind of player, especially as like an 8 or 12-year-old. So I just viewed that as like, I got to the end and I thought it was the end, and then it was like, you need to go visit every single place again. And it blew my little 10-year-old mind, my 12-year-old mind. It was crazy. I loved that, and I have such great memories about that game, Jet Force Gemini. So I found it, and I found a Nintendo 64 as well, and I got a really good deal on it. I got a Nintendo 64 with Jet Force Gemini, which is the only game in the bundle I cared about, and a couple other games there as well. And the main game there, the side game, was Perfect Dark, because I did not yet have a history with that game, but that would become the most intimate and dear game to me. I really, if I honestly have to pick a game that's had the most sequential, replayable influence upon my life, it's Perfect Dark. World of Warcraft, but a long time ago. Perfect Dark is still something I actively engage in on not a regular basis, but multiple times in my life. A copy of Perfect Dark has entered, and an opportunity to play through it again has happened. And at this point, like, it's fantastic, and I adore it. But I got sidetracked. That's how I got Perfect Dark. But this is before I even got into Perfect Dark. Perfect Dark at that point was just one of those games that my friend's like brother had and just whooped me in, and I felt like I sucked at. So I was like, whatever. But I went through and I played Jet Force Gemini, and I beat it. And I was like, cool. That's crazy. Like, that's really cool. But what's funny about that is that just the act of trying to find that video game, that was the butterfly that years later, I think 3 or 4 years later now at this point, 4 years later, Yeah, because I was still at Tailored Living then. I hadn't even left to go to Starbucks. This was more than that. This was like 5 or 6 years ago. And then all of the YouTube, the eBay stuff, the course, like my understanding of all this e-commerce, the people I've met, the experiences that I've had, all of it can be boiled down to repercussions from that single event. Because that day that I went out to do that, I bought those Nintendo games, and there were like 10 of them. And I was so excited, but then I got home and I plugged them in and none of them worked. And I was so demoralized. I felt so sad. I was just like, they're not working now. And then I looked some stuff up and it was like, you know, you could try cleaning them, but they're old. People don't take care of them, yada, yada. People are stupid. People suck, yada, yada, yada. And then someone was like, yeah, you get some rubbing alcohol and then you just do that every now and then with a Q-tip. And I did that. And then every single Nintendo game worked. And it blew my mind that we had these pieces of what I had deemed to be defective, just not useful anymore, just come right back to life with such a cheap and simple application of something. And then I fell in love with that, like I honestly did. And then I just started like trying to convince my friends to give me money, because I didn't have money at the time to buy Nintendo products off Craigslist, and then I would resell them and then give them their money back. And two of my friends in particular, Hasib and Andrew, they each put in like $200 or $300 into that, which was amazing, because it was, I mean, I was pretty pushy about it, definitely, but it was I don't know, it was really great. I have good friends. I'm really lucky. But my point is that event got me started in eBay. That was the day that I got ahead of myself, right? And I was like, okay, I have like $200 or $300 now. I've got some money, and I'm gonna buy as much Nintendo stuff as I can off Craigslist. And I went ham, and then I started listing things, and I discovered that I could only sell 5 items in that category. I could only have 5 items listed or sell 5, right? I was like, oh my God, that is horrible. I was so sad. And that is why I didn't have to go through PayPal jail and all that bullshit as a dropshipper, because I had gone through all that bullshit as somebody who just bought a bunch of stuff off of loaned money trying to sell it, and then been told like, oh no, you gotta wait a month to sell most of that. I had something like 35 units to sell, and I was only allowed to sell 5. So I think what I actually did is that I put a bunch of things together as bundles and sold them. But what I ultimately learned was that is not the best way to sell things. You want to minimize your shipping costs and sell things individually, especially if you're selling via auction, because the more you want your item to cater to as high a quantity of people as possible, because that'll increase the bids on it, right? Or if you're doing buy it now, it's kind of similar, but it's different, right? But at this point, I have been thoroughly distracted. I've told you a bit about my history with Game Boys here, and sometimes when I talk about things I'm passionate about, I get so into it that I completely forget where I was coming from. But I do understand the purpose of this video, and the purpose of this video is to show you that this is something that I'm doing. And as soon as I get back into the States, I'm going to start performing these mods again, and also doing videos about how to perform the mods and showing you the units that I'm working on. The idea is that every single unit created has some kind of video automatically created with the creation process. And so you can buy the Game Boy and see it being created, like built, right? And also another product that I want to do is Game Boy kits. So you buy, it's like, imagine a Lego kit, except it's a Nintendo Game Boy. So you get it, and then you have to put it together and build it, right? Obviously, you don't have to solder anything, but you have to like take the pieces apart. You know, you have to identify which ones go where and screw things. It's like you build it and then you can play it, you know, that reward. And I know that that is something that I would absolutely love to make. And because of my mentality with making things, it's just, let's say that bulk is something that I definitely would apply in this situation. Another side note, because we're going in detail in this episode, I used to build cabinets. And the fascination with bulk started with cabinetry, because eventually I got to a point where I realized that it was faster to build multiple cabinets at the same time than it was to build one cabinet and then build the next cabinet. And this may seem obvious to some of you, but I didn't understand, and I didn't fathom how true that really is. And it marked a turning point in my life where I started to compartmentalize and think about everything differently in ways of the time spent. And like when you're building a cabinet, for example, if you're picking up a tool, that can take a reasonable amount of time. So you want to find ways to pick up the tool and use it as much as you possibly can before you walk somewhere else or put the tool down, right? So it often makes more sense. Imagine you have 4 cabinets. There's cabinet number 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then each cabinet has a state. It can be in 4A, 4B, or 4C. 1A, 1B, 1C. If it's 1A, it's 1/3 of the way done. If it's 1B, it's 2/3 of the way done. If it's 1C, it's finished. You understand? So what most people would do is they would go 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, 2B, 2C, etc., etc. But what I've found works best in life is actually to go 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 2A, 2B. See, the thing is, when you do that, you are more prone to exactly what I just did and making an error. And that's what makes it so interesting, is because it's all about just slowing your tasks down and being methodical, but very precise. And by reducing the amount of time you kind of waste by repeating tasks over and over instead of switching tasks, I guess that's the best way to boil it down. Your brain needs to use more resources to switch the current task than it does to continue the task it has already started. Understanding that is very, very important. And it was cabinets. I know that sounds absurd, but it was cabinets where I started realizing it was like, wow, I can try building 10 of these at once. And the thing that was awesome about cabinetry is that you have to use wood glue, or at least in most of the cabinets I was doing. So there was a timer on this, because if the cabinet pieces didn't get placed at the right time, well, then suddenly you had, you know, cabinets that were dry but not put together all the way. And that's not good, because then they fall apart. So it was really important that it was so fascinating. And I became addicted with making piles of stuff and just sorting through it. And after I left that job, I didn't really have a way to express that outlet. But then I got into the Nintendo stuff. And that's when all of my like experience from working in retail and at that job and my own personal like passions were started. That's when I feel like I was me. Maybe not all the time, but there was some time every now and then where I was myself. I was who I want to be. You know, a glimpse of that. And it all started from looking back into my childhood, which is crazy, because I've heard people talk about that so many times, and then it's just scoffed at. And like, not to sound weird, but the impact of that on my life makes me feel like I wouldn't want to disrespect that concept, because it has been so profoundly powerful how that concept has affected my life. So what I'm thinking with these Game Boys is that I'm going to do some kind of video as I'm performing the mod. And I keep referring to the mod, so let me show you another handy dandy thing about this. I like working with stuff that has some kind of affiliate program, right? Handheld Legend doesn't have an affiliate program, but they're an awesome website, and I will be able to get points on this website that will allow me to purchase the parts necessary to do the mod, which is then going to like decrease my costs of selling the Game Boys. And hopefully I'll be able to sell the Game Boys on my own website or a Shopify platform or something instead of on eBay, because there's only so many people looking at eBay, and eBay takes a 10% or 9% cut. Like, that is large, right? And that's something I just put up with when I made them in the past. But now I really understand that if I have more products that people actually want, and I'm not trying to convince people that they have to get them. It's just like, you know, something I love and I do. And if you want to support me and you like this too, then you can buy it, you know, but you don't have to engage with the channel at all. It's just something that's there, right? Just like the course. I think that this is really, really in my best interest, and is probably the direction that one of the directions that my YouTube channel is going to take. There's two other directions, but that's a whole separate video. So I get the parts from here, and the main mod that I'm talking about is the backlight mod. And so whenever I would mod these Game Boys, I would see, you can see it much easier. And that's a pretty fairly accurate photo. I usually do the backlight mod. Oh, there's version 3 now. Nice. When I used to do this, I started at version 1, and then, yeah, this is the one, RGB with the resistor. This is the one that I did a lot of, version 2. But I started with version 1. And I would do this and a bivert mod. So what the bivert mod does is if you have any picture on a screen, you know how you can invert the colors and flip them? So every black is white and every white is black, etc. You've probably seen that at some other point. Well, with Game Boys, there's this mod that you can do where you do that digitally, and then you put a little film called a Polaroid. I think a Polaroid film. It's some kind of film that it rotates light like 90 degrees. It's really, really cool. But I don't know if that's exactly what it does. But it's a part of every LCD screen. But you put another one of those on it, and so after digitally inverting it, then you invert the colors again with the Polaroid film. And something about inverting it like that makes it sharper than it originally appeared more dull on the original screens, but by simply doing that, by doing a digital invert and then also a physical invert to get it back to the original color scheme, you can make the screen appear more crisp. And so those are the main two mods I would do, is the backlight and that. And then I'd usually clean it out and I would replace the original screen with a glass screen. Like you can see here, this is the original screen. And it's plastic, and they tend to fall out. The adhesive behind them gets old when it gets heated, and it falls out. But then I usually replace them with a glass DMG screen. Yeah, and I would usually do a black one. Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Okay. Well, you know what? This is what's happening. So I need to reach out to people and work with people more. So I had communicated with the guy who runs this website a couple of times. So I'm not sure if he's going to respond to this, but why not invite him to do a video on my YouTube channel? Because he can talk about Handheld Legend. It's awesome. That would be good. Okay, so let's see if that will happen. Kyle at handheldlegend.com. YouTube interview. Hey Kyle, I've been running a YouTube channel for a little. Oh no, he already knows about my YouTube channel. I don't need to remind him. Okay. Sometimes that can come off the wrong way. If they don't know I'm a YouTuber, then I'll tell them because it's relevant to what I'm trying to do, because I want to do a recording. But in this situation, so to prepare, okay, how am I going to write this? Whenever I start a new series on my YouTube channel, I like to do Skype conversations with the people involved in whatever content the video is using. Since I will be using Handheld Legend to provide mod content for the YouTube channel, I would absolutely love to have a Skype conversation with you, asking you about Handheld Legend, what you love about it. You are obviously passionate. And so I'm being much more casual than I would be on like eBay or anything, and that's because I think when it comes to doing these Skype videos, which really important really is just getting people to feel comfortable so they just talk and feel at ease, right? I really don't like the word interview. I really don't. But in this situation, I have enough like I would love to interview this person, and I think it could be actually in that format. And I think that's just something I need to get over, because interviewing people is so awesome. I love it. And I could see myself doing that for a long time. But anyway, getting sidetracked. If you are interested, let me know. All I need is a time of day. I have 100% flexibility and will be able to do a 30 through 60 minutes call with you at any time you find convenient. Best, Jack Pittman. And I guess I should send a link to my YouTube channel, right? Probably a good idea. User Jack German. I do like that I can just type my name. It's like I'm never gonna forget that. Ooh, that's a bad thing to say. I mean, there's a lot that can happen in the world to make you forget things, especially if you get old. So I may have just said something not true. All right, sweet, good. Okay, let's read over this one more time. So I'm just reaching out so that he can talk about Handheld Legend and learn a bit more about that. Okay, cool. That's good. Awesome. So yeah, this is my introduction to Operation DMG. And it's called DMG because the original Game Boy, the Nintendo Game Boy, the model number is DMG01. I cannot tell you how many times late at night I was on my phone and I had this searched in, DMG01, and I would change this. I would look at ending soonest, and then I would change it to auction, and then I would just drool. And I would say that I got $300 from some event, or like a common thing was that I got stock from Starbucks and it would be eligible to be cashed out. So like on that week, I would cash that money out and use all of it to just buy a bunch of Game Boys, because I loved having them just lying around and being able to interact with them. I find that I'm at my happiest when I always have something to do with my hands and I can do things at my own pace, and I get like it's great. Very great. So that is it. I will be doing content about the mods that I'm performing, and I'll also, whenever I do this, there's going to be, here's some like more insider stuff about how my YouTube channel works. I have the content creation stream, right? And there's usually one thing that I do that is something that I do on a regular basis, and I just do videos about that. And then whenever I'm getting into something, I'll do that for a while, and then once I've gotten a foundation of understanding of what the videos are and how they work and that kind of thing from that, then I'll start doing more kind of targeted specific videos. For example, some tutorials or Skype conversations with people about those subjects. But really, it all starts with that original repetition, that daily that daily just content creation, and then that just shows you exactly what a good video would look like, so then you can just make it. It's kind of like you are like making a big source of light, and then the money's where all the shadows are, and you're just keeping track of where the shadows are because that big source of light you're making. That metaphor doesn't make any sense. Don't pay too much attention to it. But yeah, there was a point. So I'll be performing the mods, and I think what I'll probably do is it would be good to make a website and have people be able to order custom Game Boys. That would be very good. Like very, very, very good. And I feel such gratification to Handheld Legend. Like, it was definitely an example of something that brought me so much joy and good things into my life, and a company that was all about supplying the things necessary to do that. And it, like, I really admire just when I've talked to Kyle, and just he's been there was a point where I was one of the top like 10 people who bought stuff from them, like quantity wise. So it's not a big website, I don't think, but at least that's what I received in some kind of notification or email thing. They gave like discounts to their top customers. So it's possible that is just a psychological thing, but from my experience talking to Kyle, I think that actually was real. Maybe it was exaggerated a bit, but I try not to let things like that get to my head. But it was really exciting just to know that, like, I loved doing something, and you know, it was great. I think in total I spent like $2 or $3 grand on this website, maybe less. Yeah, probably like between $2 and $3 grand. I'd say that's accurate. And all on modifications that I would then I would usually source the things from the Game Boys from eBay. But that's another thing, guys. So there's another angle to this that I haven't discussed yet, and that's that I think what I got to figure out is how can I get stuff sent to my house that I can then interact with and sell. Right, that's the goal, because that's what really makes me happy. So an example of this is I used to acquire stuff off Craigslist, and I would drive and go get stuff, but I have realized now that I can actually just pay people extra to just drive it and drop it off to me, and have that be part of the business model, so I don't go out and get stuff. Because now that I've done this in the past, I understand the parts that I didn't enjoy that are avoidable, right? And the parts that I really loved, that if I can just spend more time doing those, then it will be more consistent, and it'll be better and more efficient, right? So another thing with that is there's probably some way to source Game Boys from the audience. I don't know how I would do that. Like, maybe there would be some kind of system where if you want to get a mod done, then you send it in and you have a little note and you put like a $20 bill in it. Or I have no idea how it would work. I have thought about selling stuff on eBay, mods aside, like games, and having a spreadsheet that I talk to you guys about and show you in video, and it's probably like one of the main video on my channel. Like if you go to my channel page, where you can see, okay, if you have this old Nintendo game or this Super Nintendo game or this Game Boy game, you can send it in a box to me, and as long as it's in the condition you state, then I'll give you this much money through PayPal upon receival of the box and processing it, right? So obviously, like, that's very trust-based, but that's how that system would kind of have to work, and I think that I have the reputation that might work, and that would put me in a position where I would absolutely thrive. I know what makes me happy, and when I perform the best, and when I create the most, and more of those variables are becoming true. And if I can get it to a point where I'm doing video game creation, I'm doing YouTube, and I'm doing this like retro selling Nintendo stuff, and then eventually video game creation will probably take that over and I won't do it anymore. But who knows, you know, we can't like plan out our future. We just have to make the best out of what we have and what we know makes us happy and all that kind of stuff, right? So that is it. That is Operation DMG. one of the directions that some of the regular videos of my YouTube channel are going to be taking in the upcoming months. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like this, and as always, I don't have anything I say after as always. Don't like all YouTubers have something they say. Like I watch a lot of Anna Akana's videos, and she always goes like, yeah, she says stay Gotham or something like that. That's cool. I think that I don't really understand that. Maybe it's a reference to something. I think it's cool because I like Anna Akana. I like the way that, like, the videos she does are not, I have a mentality where it's very important to get used to minimal work on your videos and the act of creating as many videos as possible, and then integrating processing and better image and audio and all of that into it, because that's how you just naturally become better that way. But a lot of channels don't do that. They put so much time, and like a lot of Anna Akana videos are like 3 or 4 minutes, and it takes a whole team of people to make that. So on one hand, I really love the videos, but personally, it doesn't match with what I want out of YouTube. You know what I mean? Which is really interesting. But there's a lot of other subscribers I'll do, and I'm getting sidetracked. I need to think of something to just end my videos, right? I don't know what it is, but I don't want to say goodbye yet. There's one more thing that just came to mind, and that's just giving a little bit of a glimpse into an upcoming video. Okay, so yeah, I'm listening to Paramore right now, but what I need to find is... Nope, that's not what I want. That's what I want. Okay, so what I need is this. All right, so some of you may have seen this video where I talk about making a list of known dropshippers, right? So what I'm gonna do, I didn't share this in the video, which is kind of stupid, honestly, but you guys know now. Well, the few of you listening to this video after me ranting all that time, so you guys are the ones who I really relate to, for what it's worth, because, like, yeah, tops off to you, hats off, something like that. My point is that I'm going to use this list. It's probably going to take like a month to compile it, and I need to share this video on a couple different Facebook groups to keep Interesting. Sorry, I just reading new comments for the first time. People are telling names of channels that talk about drop shipping. I'm trying to gather a list of a whole bunch of them in one place, right? Kind of like I've done with software for drop shipping, and except this, I want to really think about, okay, what can I do to make it easier for people interested in this to locate the information, aside from actively talking about it myself and selling a course about it? What can I do to kind of help influence things a little bit, right? And so one of the ways I want to do that is by making videos just showing, like, okay, there's going to be a list of people here, so I'm literally just going to do a video going to the YouTube channels, showing you this is what it looks like, this is what I've heard about this, but here is an option that you can pursue. Next one, okay, yada yada, this is another option, here's another person, and just making more videos showing you guys the things that are available, because I am in a position where it's kind of like a tower, right? If you're in a tower, you can see further than people that are on the ground. And when you run a YouTube channel, it puts you into a network, and that network is insanely powerful, especially as it grows. So I'm really interested in this. I think that it could be a cool video, and I think that you guys really would benefit a lot from it. All right, thanks for watching. I'm done. I will see you next time. Ciao.